more for you, you feel it. You know it. This is your life, and it's time to go from contender to champion. This is the show. John Madsen.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I'm your host, John Madsen. This is the show. I got a great episode for you today. When I talk about high performance or peak performance, there's usually 4 pillars that I'll talk about. Number 1 is your body. We talk about that a lot. Number 2 is your mindset, creating a championship mentality, creating a winning mindset. Number 3, and this is where we're going to spend time today, is how to create that championship identity. And this is where a lot of people self-sabotage. This is where a lot of you are stuck, whether it is your business or your fitness, whether it's in the realm of money or whether it's in the realm of having an elite body. We're going to spend a lot of time today on how to create this championship identity and why not being able to do so holds so many of you back. The 4th one, we've talked about a lot, so I just want to lay it out there for anybody who's new to this show. Usually, we're going to talk about these 4 things. Your environment, right? Your environment is the thing that is going to ultimately be an asset or an anchor to your results in every aspect of your life. Now, before I go into identity and before I tackle this topic, because I know it's important, because a lot of the questions that I get asked are usually around this one idea, this idea of self-image or identity. When I speak to people in large groups and I go through my methodology of creating peak performance or high performance in individuals or teams, this identity question is the one that usually has the most questions, and it's usually the one that a person can feel the most. Right? Because you all know what I'm talking about when you know without a shadow of a doubt that you have the skill set, you already have the mindset, you already have this understanding that you're just as smart as your friend who's crushing it, you're just as smart as your competitor who's crushing it, yet you're stuck and the people that you're looking at are not stuck. And so there's this idea that you could do more, you could become more, you have all the abilities and all the capabilities to achieve more, yet you don't. You stay right where you're at. And ultimately, what I'm here to tell you today is your external reality ultimately, usually, in 99% of the cases, reflect how you truly feel about yourself, how you see yourself. Your brain thinks in pictures, right? If I told you right now, whether you're in the gym, on the road, listening with headphones, taking a walk, in your office, wherever you're at, if I told you and just said the words pink elephant, it has a picture, and it might be lightning quick, right? When we form these things, it's like almost like a flashcard flashing across your mind that you don't even notice, but there's a picture there, right? There's a picture there. And so usually these pictures that we create in our mind are the things that create the feelings. And why is that important? If we feel anxious or we feel doubtful or we feel not confident, then we act not confident, then we act doubtful, then we act anxiously, right? And when we act in those ways, our behavior is modified. And when our behavior is modified in the wrong direction, our outcome is almost never what we want it to be. And so in order to change the feeling, we got to change the pictures, right? We got to change the pictures. And if we want to completely modify those pictures and we want to modify reality as you know it today, then we have to modify your identity. We have to modify your identity. And so that's what I want to talk about today. I want to paint this picture for you. And at first, I want to make you understand how important this idea is. Because if you look at it from a strictly fitness perspective, right? Maybe your fitness is dialed in. Maybe you're already elite, right? Maybe this is about why you only make $40,000 a month, no matter how many skills you acquire, no matter what you do. Maybe 1 month you figure a little something out and you bump it up to 50K or 60K, but inevitably you go right back down to 35, 40, and it's just this like solid thing, right? It's this solid thing. Why is that? Why is that? Well, it's because you're a 40K person in your own mind, right? If you want to go to 400K, you have to become a 400K person in your mind. It's got to go from imagination to reality, right? And so there's this big misconception. It's not like I'm telling you to forget actual reality right now. I'm just telling you that you have two options. The first option, and what most people do, and you guys are going to get this as soon as I say it, I promise you, for those of you that are stuck and you're about to hear what I'm about to say, you will absolutely feel it when I say it. It'll hit. Some of you are stuck because the identity that you've created for yourself is based on your past. Let me just say this one more time. Some of you are stuck because the identity that you've created, which is now represented in your reality, is created from the past. The champions, and if I'm going to start with somebody and start to create this championship identity, I start with having them create the identity from the future. We're pulling from an opposite end. This is super important because if you grew up in a certain neighborhood that was poor and everybody around you was poor and nobody was really thriving, it was all about survival, the collective value level, the values of that community, the beliefs of that community almost become yours by osmosis, right? And so let's just say that you are able to get out of a community like that, and you're able to, let's say, go to college, and you're able to start doing some good. Now, all of a sudden, you're faced with this decision almost, or this uncomfort of you wanting more out of life, but being tied to who you once were. And even if at a conscious level, you start to understand that you want to make more money, that you want to have a better body, and you start to chase that a little bit, inevitably, it's the self-sabotage that pulls you back down. And the reason this happens is because the image you have of yourself, the image and the core identity of that person today is based on who you used to be. And you haven't been able to change it, right? You're just an average kid from an average city who works harder than everybody else, who gets this result. That's just who you are. You're just the type of person who drives an F-150 and that's all you need, right? Because you like pickup trucks and you don't need flashy cars or you don't need flashy houses. That's all you need because that's who you are, right? And here's my point. That's 100% okay. If that's all you want to be, that's fine. But in my experience, it's these same exact people who want to cling to this identity of this is just who I am. They're the ones that create the most struggle in their lives because what they do is out of alignment. They actually are the ones striving for more, right? And they don't want to admit that they want to create more. They'd rather just cling to this average and ordinary, right? Or they're not willing to completely align themselves with this other creation of a new identity and chase it relentlessly. So I'm going to give you some tangible steps here. I just wanted to paint this picture. I want you to think about right now if your identity of yourself, the way you see yourself, right? The way you see yourself is keeping you from achieving the results you ultimately want and keeping you right where you feel comfortable, right? Let's face it. Our unconscious mind has two distinct jobs: to keep you safe and to keep you efficient. Ascending does not, in your unconscious mind's view, keep you safe. It thinks that there's risks at all turns. It does not keep you efficient in your unconscious mind's view. Trying to achieve more is scary because it would require you to be somebody new. And what's new is unfamiliar and it's uncomfortable. And what's new might take up more battery, right? It's not going to be as efficient. You're going to have to consciously and unconsciously change who you believe you are. So the job of the unconscious mind to keep you safe and to keep you efficient then gets confused because on one hand you want to be something else, but on the other hand we might not be willing to do it. And so the show, right? The show, I'm going to give you some steps because you might be a person right now that's thinking, damn it, John's right. I've been stuck at 10K a month for the last 4 years. I am a person who believes that this is just the way it is. On one hand, I do believe that I'm capable of more and wonder why I'm stuck. On one hand, I see other people completely crushing it in my same industry, and I still continue to stay stuck, right? This identity, if you're really going to create a championship one, you're going to have to create it from the future. It's a whole different game than thinking about your identity and living it out from something that was created long ago. You have two choices. Keep the identity that's going to keep you stuck or craft and create a brand new one. What comes after that? And what do I specifically mean by that? I'm not talking about sitting in the corner and just acting and meditating and visualizing all day long, right? But too many people haven't gotten really clear about the type of life that they want to live, the type of person that they want to be, the type of woman that they want to become, the type of man that they want to become. They don't know what that person looks like. They don't know what that person talks like. They don't know what that person dresses like. They don't know how that person's energy is. They just have a vague understanding of they want more. You have to be specific. You have to be very, very specific in your mind so that you can start to craft that picture. And you think about that sporadically throughout the day, right? What you think about all day long, it's not like you're just going to sit in your desk and think about it all day long, but it's got to be in the background, like a tab open on your computer that's like, this is what I'm trying to create. That's why I believe in having imagery of that, right? I pointed to for those of you that are watching the video version, I pointed to the vision board because I see not only the visual image of King Leonidas, but I also see another guy with his significant other at this beautiful resort, and they're both jacked, right? And I see the houses, and I see the jets, and I see a Rolex, and I'm like, I'm painting a picture of what this, and different homes, of what this life is going to look like, right? And it's reminding me when I look at that. It's subliminal, right? I understand that in order for me to become, or in order to have a different result, I got to become a person capable of that result, right? So creating it and crafting it, visualizing it a little bit, yes, but it's in the background. You know what it is. And I know some of you are like, I know what that looks like. But you don't. You haven't really thought about it. You haven't really constructed it. You haven't really created it. You're just living life and living out those patterns. So number 2, after you create it, what do? You have to get aligned with it, right? And I've talked about this so many times. The alignment has to be congruent. If you want to go from making, let's say, 10K a month to 100K a month, you have to be aligned and okay with it within. Because if you have this belief that if you were to make more money, that would take away from your relationship with your wife, and the relationship with the wife is the most important thing, then unconsciously you're going to be not congruent. Your unconscious mind, which is responsible for going and taking you towards the destination, right, is not going to allow you. It's not going to take you there. There's going to be too much resistance. There's going to be too much sabotage because you have a belief that if you were to succeed at that level, then another part of you is going to suffer. Maybe you saw that as a child. Maybe you were told that by a teacher. For whatever reason, that belief is in there, right? All of us are comprised of thousands and thousands and thousands and probably millions of beliefs that we don't even know about. And those beliefs then create values. And so we have values and values, we know what they are because it's what we prioritize. And so a lot of times people are living in this world where they can either have an amazing business or an amazing relationship, right? It's an either or game. And so the new identity, when it's created, has to be created in a way, and it's got to be believed that you can absolutely crush it in business, and you can crush it in fitness, and you can crush it monetarily at the same time, and nothing is going to suffer. In fact, everything is going to be enhanced, right? And if you're not conflicted and you're aligned to it, that is key, right? Number 3 is, if you want this to be an easier road, you have to feel deserving of it. Within this identity, you have to feel like you deserve all the good things. Because let's just take an example of the kid who grew up in a poor neighborhood in a poor city and wants to ascend rapidly, right? And maybe there's this belief that was instilled that in order to get what you want, you have to sacrifice. You have to sacrifice everything. You have to grind, right? You have to work 16 hours a week. And some people will go out, and even if they crush it, I'll see this show up because they'll work 16 hours a day or 12 hours a day because they don't feel worthy of the result unless they worked their ass off. They don't feel worthy. Sometimes people do this in fitness. They want to completely annihilate themselves, right? They want to annihilate themselves. They want to make it hard because to them, nothing worthwhile has ever been easy, right? And so if fitness was easy, that would go against their belief system. The unconscious wants to be congruent, right? Your identity wants to be congruent. And so you have to watch out for these things. When I'm coaching people and I see people just burning out, I know that there's this possibility that they don't feel fully congruent with deserving an epic life if they don't feel like they're completely sacrificing everything to get it, right? And so this is the stuff that's really deep. This is why when I speak to groups, people want to come up and they're like, oh my God, John, like, I did this. I never even thought about it, but I continue to make shit hard for myself over and over and over again. And I'm tired of it, man. I see guys who are crushing it, who are living in this world where it feels somewhat easy and effortless. And I used to hate those words. Believe me, I grew up in sports. I grew up in the grind. I grew up in the sacrifice. I'm not saying that you don't put effort. I'm just saying be open to the idea that your beliefs shape your reality. If you believe something's going to be hard to be worth it, anything worth it, you're going to make it hard. You're going to make it match. Your unconscious mind and the universe, God, call it whatever you want, has a magnificent ability to keep you congruent to what you believe. I want to shape those beliefs at the identity level to make my life enjoyable. I want to see how much money I can make and have the most fun. I want to see how great I can be in fitness and not have to sacrifice my whole life to do it. I want it to feel easy, okay? And then the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to this is you have to make progress every day. You have to make progress every single day. Every day that we get up, we get another shot to start another winning streak, right? We're not just going to have this thought and wake up tomorrow and then have everything that we've ever dreamed of. But you have to understand that this identity is created and you get to create it. You're the artist. But if you never take the paintbrush out and create it, if you never take the time to create this life and think about it, then you're just going to get what you get and you're going to end up wherever you end up. You have to align yourself to this identity. You have to know that it's a win-win-win. Otherwise, you're going to sacrifice your results because if you're not aligned to knowing that you can have great fitness, great body, great relationships all at the same time, and you have a belief that's out of alignment with that you have to sacrifice one in order to get the other, then you're going to have a lot of self-sabotage. Also on the deserving front, once again, this is just a recap. You might prove to yourself, you might be the type of person that feels like you have to prove to yourself that you're worth it. Guess what? We were born, and chances are, I have listeners all over different countries. I live in the United States. I'm not going to, say that the United States is the best country in the world, but I was born here, and I believe that I hit the lottery. And I believe that because all of us, regardless of where we're listening to this right now, we were born. And the chances of us being on this earth at this time right now is magnificent. And so we were born worthy, right? We were born worthy. It's our beliefs that get in the way of that. You don't have to prove to yourself how worthy you are. You can just go and win as long as it's done in a win-win type of fashion. And then the last part of it that I just stated, you move towards it every day. You want to lock that identity in. You start creating new standards as you move, right? My standards a year ago are not my standards today. My standards today better be fucking higher 2 years from now or next month. You have to keep stepping towards this future imagery of yourself, this identity, and you have to create high standards at every step of the way. When you do that and you never lower your standards for another person, or you never lower your standards for another environmental something that happens in your reality, and you make everyone adjust to your standards, that identity grows strong. It's a constant practice. And one pro tip that I left out that I think is super important here, if you don't feel deserving, because that's one of the questions that I get asked a lot, John, what if I don't feel like I deserve it, right? What if I don't feel like I deserve this type of life for whatever reason? Like, who am I to have it? Or this happened to me, and I'll just tell you, very candidly, there was a period in my life where I was doing stuff that I wasn't super proud of, right? I had hurt some people. I had hurt myself. I was going through stuff just like everyone goes through stuff. And I remember sitting down and having a conversation with my friend, and I'm like, I feel like I deserve to be punished, right? I feel like I deserved to be punished. I didn't feel like I deserved to be loved. I didn't feel like I deserved the success. And yet, on one hand, all I was doing was trying to succeed, but at the very identity level, I didn't feel like I deserved it. And some of you going right now is going like, fuck, that's me. That's me. I have this feeling like, based on some choices that I made in my past, based on whatever you've made up in your head, that you don't deserve massive, effortless success, right? You don't feel deserving of it. And my answer to that person always is, it starts and ends with forgiveness. Yeah. It wasn't until I could forgive myself for all the things that I thought I did that might have been big to some, might be small to others. I had to forgive the whole past. I had to stop living with this rearview mirror of a previous stuff that had happened. And once that forgiveness was real, and I could feel it, and you'll be able to feel it too. It's not a hard process. You just have to acknowledge that feeling, and you have to forgive yourself for the stuff that you might not want to look at. And when you do that, it's the start of feeling deserving, right? We all deserve forgiveness. We all can forgive somebody else. Me and my wife just did a whole podcast on this one topic, but I wanted to mention it in this show because it's important for you to know, because that is a question I get asked all the time, because people really do think to themselves in a weird, very weird way that's even hard to explain, I don't feel like I deserve that. I feel like I deserve punishment based on something that happened in the past. Forgiveness is huge. 2 choices, guys. You can keep living out this identity that was created a long time ago, and that can keep pulling you back down to average results, or you can finally start to create and craft a championship identity, a guy or a girl who's a true fucking champion, and you can start acting that out. Because here is the most important piece of this show. When you change at the level of identity, when you become somebody different, right? When that identity locks in, what happens? All of the beliefs, the mesh of beliefs that you have that live inside of you, which comprise all of your values, they change, right? When you change your identity, you change your beliefs, you change your values, you change your priorities, right? And when you do all of that, all of those micro behaviors, right? All of those micro behaviors change. And so it feels easy and effortless to make the choices that you used to make in the other direction that would keep you stuck. Now, all of that stuff aligns to make life feel easier. You show up at the right place at the right time. You have a supercomputer in your unconscious mind. It knows how to calculate where to put you at the right time, at the right place, and have the right words come out of your mouth consistently and effortlessly to put you in the right rooms, to put you in the right situations, to get you to the right coach, to get you to listen to the right podcast at the right time, and to seemingly have all of these synchronicities so that you ultimately continue to win because you're acting out a new identity with new beliefs, new values. You make better decisions, and therefore you get better results. If you try to just change the behavior without changing the identity, your results will be short-term, they will be short-lived, and ultimately you'll always self-sabotage yourself back to the person you believe you are instead of creating the new hero that lives inside of you, that all of us, male or female, have today.
Thank you so much for joining us for another amazing episode of The Show with John Madsen. The greatest compliment that you could give us is liking, loving, and sharing this episode with all of your friends. So please go to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and review, and then share it online with everyone that you know. Make sure to tag John as well. He loves to hear from listeners of the show. The links for all of his socials and iTunes are in the show notes. Also, if you'd like to engage John for anything related to his coaching, consulting, or programs, please visit johnmadsen.com for everything you'd need to know on how to engage with John offline. And lastly, thank you for your time, your attention, and your consideration. This is The Show.